One of the greatest joys of serving as president of Sweet Adelines International is presenting the President's Lifetime Achievement Award. This year, I wanted to recognize someone who exemplifies the value of the contributions that every member can make out of the strength of their love and commitment to the organization. In this year's recipient, Toula Oberlies, that value has been beyond measure. Toula is an important part of the very foundation of the spirit of philanthropy that is now beginning to thrive throughout the organization. Her work on behalf of young singers inspired so many to give of their time and resources. No one who encountered her in those efforts could deny the authenticity and depth of her commitment. And we were all drawn into the vision of the future she shared with such openness and conviction. Toula brought significant funds into the organization through her work with young singers, and many other volunteers were drawn to service and continue to serve because of the example she set. As I began speaking to others about Toula's contributions, though, it became clear to me that her influence has come not only out of her service, but also through the ways she interacted personally with so many of our members. I heard people speak of their memory of the first time they met her, or of a moment of fun and laughter they shared with her. Some spoke of small gifts they still treasure, and some of great lasting friendships that were forged. In this aspect, perhaps, this recognition is most appropriately given. Before they were even codified, Toula was already living the guiding principles we now embrace as an organization. I have watched her celebrate everyone who achieves musical excellence. She always embraced diversity and has outreached her hand to help so many of our members feel like they belong. She has recognized gifts in others and encouraged them to grow in their own power and leadership. And she has always sought to reach outside of the organization to share enthusiastically what we have to offer. In big and small ways, Toula has helped us understand how important every member, how important each one of us is to the quality of this organization. We see the importance she placed on each member in her volunteer work at every level of the organization, in her participation in performing ensembles, and in her interaction with every person she meets. In truth, it is through interaction with each other that we most fully experience our Sweet Adelines membership. Toula has provided a beautiful example of that for all of us to emulate. She is a personal treasure to so many of us and an inspiration to all of us. One of the most inspirational characteristics I've experienced in Toula is her ability to live in a space of gratitude. Even when coping with the most difficult of personal struggles, Toula has always taken time to express her deep appreciation. I have experienced it as an individual. Toula recently sent me gifts that shared her personal talents and her beautiful Greek heritage, and I have experienced it as a representative of this organization. When I thanked her for her service over so many years, her response was to thank me and Sweet Adelines for the privilege to serve. She is indeed Sweet Adelines. It has been my pleasure and privilege to serve with Toula directly, and my great honor to be able to recognize her with the 2023 President's Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations, Toula. Toula is not in Louisville with us today, but she has received her award plaque and has it at her home. We are very fortunate that Toula's great Sweet Adelines friend, Jan Meyer, is here to bring greetings from Toula to share with us this evening. Thank you, Jan, for all the support you have provided in the presentation of this award. You want a picture? He's not here.
I am so happy to accept this award on behalf of my dear friend, Aristea Varoufakis. You know her as Toula Oberlies. and she's watching on the webcast. So at the count of 3, let's send out a "We love you, Toula." 1, 2, 3. She sends her greetings and her love from Spring Arbor Assisted Living in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I'll tell you why I'm telling you this story a little bit later. Toula was born in Minya, Egypt, and is of Greek heritage. And Aristea, her born name, is the feminine version of Aristotle. Her family called her Aristula, or Toula, as a sort of pet name. Her father, like many Europeans at that time, was a successful businessman in Egypt as a cotton exporter. But the government changed hands, and all of the Europeans were forced to leave and live elsewhere. Her extended family scattered across the globe, and Toula's parents brought her and her brother to the United States when Toula was 11 years old. When they came to the United States, her name, Aristea Varoufakis, was Americanized by the immigration officials to Toula Varu, and then some years later she married John Oberlies. I tell you this story because I visited her last month to get her input on this acceptance speech, and I asked her, "What does Sweet Adelines mean to you?" She very quickly answered, "I love this organization. It's the family I lost when we all had to leave Egypt." When I asked her, "What has brought you the most joy in your Sweet Adeline life?" she said, "Helping others." And as Therese has already told you, in her service to her chorus, her region, and the organization as a whole, she has worked to support and encourage and promote others and takes joy in watching them succeed. That includes me, because she gave a tip to the person who was the music category specialist at that time, Carolyn Healy, that I needed to be a music judge. And that began my journey to this wonderful spot I have down here today. She's the epitome of a people person, and I love to tell this story. We traveled the world together, and she never knew a stranger. And there was a time we were off on a new adventure when we didn't manage to get seats together on the plane. So I sat down next to my seatmate, gave her a polite nod. We both promptly buried our noses in our books, and that was it for the flight. But when we deplaned, Toula introduced me to her seatmate, told me her name, her husband's name, how many children they had, what she did for a living, where she was going and why, and then she ended the conversation by saying, "And would you believe our parents have the same wedding anniversary?" How did that come up in an airplane conversation? But that's Toula. When I spoke to her about this award and read to her the list of the names of the amazing people who have won it, starting with Renee Craig all the way to Joan Boudelier, she just kept saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And when I was done, she said, "Jan, those people are international presidents. They're international faculty. They have crowns, for God's sakes. I'm just Toula." That's Toula. She gave me strict instructions on how I was to end this speech. And she said, "Don't look at your notes. Look them straight in the eye and say, 'Thank you, thank you, thank you, Therese, everyone here, and everyone on the webcast. I love you all, and I really appreciate this.'" Thank you.